We just bought ourselves the cheapest GTR we could find at the salvage auction, and now we're gonna try to completely restore it with a budget of 50 grand. Which sounds like a ton of money, except for the fact that we've already spent 38 on the car, and as you would imagine, a $38,000 GTR has a plethora of issues. Yeah. Oh yeah. Basically, we got ourselves a budget of just under 12 grand to take care of all of that, and considering a paint job is gonna eat up half of that, we've got our work cut out for us. Now, I do suppose that making it so the car doesn't look like an active crime scene probably isn't the worst place to start. This is our first look inside this whole door structure. We know where the shot came in, of course, through the tooth, but that is where it exited the door, and somehow it seems to have not hit anything that really matters. Let's give you a better look in there. Oh yeah. The window, I think, would have got taken out if it wasn't up, but still, all the rails, the regulator, it looks like it skipped everything that's important. You can't really say the same for the speaker, but hey, it's a 15-year-old Nissan. I guess that just comes with the territory, right? Now, on the back of our door panel, see where that thing came out too, right there, and it also just blasted one of the door panel mounts off. Now, one of the more confusing parts of this whole ordeal was what happened with the fender. We knew we had this entry right here, the bottom forward part of it, but there is still no exit. We couldn't find one at the auction, we couldn't find one on the lift when we first got it back here, and I still don't see one now. Either way, there's no further damage back here, so I guess it really doesn't matter all that much, does it? Only thing that matters at this point is getting these holes filled up so it looks like this whole shootout never happened. And for that, we brought in a couple professional hole fillers.
You always catch me on all these weird things. Looks like this bullet went in this way and actually gave me a nice little access hole here. Using this tool to give me some leverage and trying to push this dent out from the inside. As I push out on the low end, I'm tapping around the high end, which should make this surface flat again and maybe give us something that we can weld up and grind up and clean up.
So one odd thing to note here, and something I just learned today, when we were going through this thing with Matt, talking about a plan to fix it, we were assuming that the rear quarter was steel. It is steel. We were also thinking that the door was gonna be steel. It ain't steel. This is an aluminum door, which is something they usually only do on really high-end cars, which I guess it checks out, right? It is their halo car, but by that token, the fender, that's probably also gonna be aluminum. After all, that's much more common than an aluminum door. Aluminum door, steel fender. But hey, maybe there's a good reason for it. If one of you guys know, I'd love to hear about it. The hood, that's aluminum. They did use all kinds of just cool materials in these cars, like the carbon fiber composite core support. So I just find that steel fender odd. Now, of our three holes, the door was always going to be the trickiest to fix. Not only because it's aluminum, but it's also really thin aluminum, which has a tendency to warp when you weld it. So it's a bit like walking a tightrope, trying to put just enough heat into it, but not so much that it looks like bacon afterwards. And as for our last hole, the fender, well, we technically, I think, got to commit a federal crime, so that's something.
Bullet hole, clearly, so we don't have anything to really get behind it, nothing to really stick to. Put a piece of copper there so we can fill the hole.
Yeah, somebody's great-grandfather figured that whole thing out. That is quite genius.
There you go.
I wiped it on and I wiped it off.
I was about to say that.
You're supposed to leave some on there. What the?
That looks just like what I did.
It was the build that we needed first, right?
Nailed it. Personally, I would have done this, slightly different. I'd have kind of built it a little more from the front and over.
Right.
It's almost like it never happened, right?
Yes.
A little less character now, but
Kind of boring.
Hey, boring or not, you guys knocked this thing out just crazy fast, as usual. Just a killer job.
For a budget, we could be pretty quick.
Speaking of budget, they said that this month only, they're doing 3 free bullet holes fixed with any paint job, right? You heard it here. You can call him, you can ask him about it. He'll definitely honor that. So
All of Baltimore City calling me.
Here's the next question. Is this big Hulk-sized fist dent fixable, or do we have to replace the bumper?
No, we can fix this. We just got to put a little heat on it. We can get this out. The tear is iffy. It's just in a spot that it could tear again, but I got a good feeling that if we repair that right and put some mesh behind there and, you know, to support it or whatever, that I think it'll last good enough for a budget.
All right, and if we do need to replace the diffuser, we can probably just get another diffuser, but if we save the bumper, I think that'd be very helpful in the budget front. That about wraps it up for the exterior, and at least for now. And the good news is we haven't spent any money yet, though I do suspect it'll be on the final bill from the body shop when we get it. Now, we still have a ton more to do on the exterior. The big one, of course, is the paint. And then we have the front lip, the rear lip. We gotta clear up those headlights and bring it back to kind of like a factory fresh type finish. And then, of course, see if there's any money left over for mods at the end. We've ordered up a bunch of parts for our engine, all the gaskets, all the seals, pretty much everything we need to make this not look like an oily pile of trash. They're gonna be in tomorrow, so we should be able to take care of that soon. I guess for now, the next thing to hop on is, well, the interior. First step on the interior is kind of trying to dig through and see what works and what doesn't. Of course, when we bought the car at the auction, it had all this factory radio stuff in the trunk, along with this. It obviously had some type of like Tesla screen. I'm personally not a big fan of those, so I'd prefer if we can just get the factory unit back in it and working, but these do fail kind of often. So I guess let's plug it all in and, I don't know, see if it fires up. All these things were out of it and in the trunk, so who knows what's gonna work. I know these climate controls, these do have issues too. So take care of the important stuff first, and then we'll try to do something about this disgusting red trim.
What's wrong with red?
I mean, it's like 80% red. It's kind of the biggest concern is that they didn't cut anything, right? We haven't looked at any of this at all yet. There's supposed to be, on the back of our climate control, 3 connectors. I see 1. Huh.
Dope.
That's another one. This, the 3rd connector that we were looking for. Yeah. So that's why we couldn't find it. It is attached to the screen, and the screen has its own plug. All right, we're making a little bit of progress here. This is everything else that is missing on there. They just yanked it all down to the like driver's knee area. Uno, dos, tres. This is where we're gonna put all this in and then learn that the previous owner took it out not because he wanted to upgrade, but because everything was broken, right? All right, you ready to test this, Fernando?
Nope.
Nothing about this looks like it's gonna work, does it? Like literally nothing about this screams confidence. Yeah, everything's gonna work just fine.
Bro, we're gonna put power, it's gonna start smoking.
Figure before we power this thing up, we'll use our heads for once and pull out the fuel pump fuse so we don't, you know, do exactly what you think would happen if we power it up with the fuel pump fuse in, with the fuel line disconnected. That was a fantastic explanation, wasn't it? Okay, all right. So that's doing what it should do. Now we actually have control over the HVAC, which is cool. When we picked this thing up, the AC was just on. So the display on our screen's actually quite nice. These things fail all the time and you have to replace the digitizer, I guess it's called. That's cool. Everything else works here. The navigation, all the gauges, no audio. It looks like what we were kind of worried about being the case here actually did turn out to be the case here, which, I mean, makes sense, right? So when this thing fires up and we go to turn our audio on, it just doesn't work. There's nothing we can do to get the audio to turn on. We've tried unplugging everything, plugging it back in. Now, I can't imagine it's because we don't have this door plugged in, but before we go spending money, might as well try it, right?
You know what you're doing?
I'm pretty sure it's obvious by what I'm doing right now, like smashing a video game controller, that I do not know what I'm doing. So yeah, that didn't work as expected. I was talking to our friends at Workhorse Performance, or a huge local GTR shop. They're gonna be quite critical in helping us get this whole thing done. And they said that it is most likely that lower silver kind of like radio brain that we installed, that thing has failed. Unfortunately, this is kind of the most common failure point for the older GTRs. Now, you would think because of this, there'd be a lot of just readily available options to fix it, right? Well, yeah, that is certainly not the case. I found one place that claims they can repair them. They're in Taiwan, so that's not going to be cheap. The other option is to do a complete upgrade to the 2012 and up navigation units. That was really popular back in the day. Apparently, they still make kits to do it, but it's about $2 grand for the whole deal. And then, of course, there's the Tesla screen. there is plenty of used ones out there for sale. Problem is, they're all from 2012 and up, so incompatible with this one. And the dealership, well, dealership's definitely not an option. So I don't really know what we're gonna do here. I guess the good news is we have a little bit of time to figure it out. I do suppose, alternatively, this video is almost certainly now gonna come out before we have a final fix for our radio. So if any of you guys happen to have one of those things laying around, if you had a working 2009 or 2010 GTR audio system and you swapped to something like a Tesla unit, I'm your guy. I'll buy it. Now, while we are a little perplexed with that whole radio situation, there's still more work to do in the interior. Primarily just trying to make it look a little less trashy. Didn't see that, I'll edit it out. Now, the early GTRs, they were notorious for having the radio bezel and this little side switch panel just peel off. It's kind of a gummy-like texture. You run your nail across it. This is a factory finish that's just eating itself off of there. And then you have all the red stuff, which the pinstriping on the outside of the cars on the indicator was done by the previous owner. Now, under here is a really nice silver finish, and you can scratch it, but it takes a lot. It certainly doesn't have the type of issues that these panels do from the factory. Now, based on how easy this is all scraping off, I don't know if they really did any prep underneath to get this stuff to stick, but I have to imagine, even considering that, if we were to scrape every inch of this off, it still wouldn't look great, given what it's been through at this point. So we have invited a friend over that's gonna coat these in something that'll never, ever come off once it's on there.
We got options.
We do have way too many options, actually. So we are gonna Cerakote these things, which ironically is probably what was on the thing that put the holes in this car originally. That's what it's normally used for. Now we're gonna need to repurpose it. So the question is, do we just go with something neutral, like a black, silver, definitely not a gold, or we go to the back here and do something that's gonna be like, I guess matching.
Ooh, I like that.
That is sick. That is sick. And do something that's gonna match the car's color, which seems kind of but might actually be cool.
Can't go wrong with purple.
That's a Mopar color.
How you feeling some sunflower?
I don't know about that. I don't know. That is kind of cool though. That reminds me of the another Mopar color with Gold Rush. Yeah. We found a sample piece in the color I want to possibly paint this car. That looks pretty good, right? That's close. This one's matte, obviously, so it's not a perfect finish. Okay, I think we'll try to match it. All right, so Scott's gonna get those things knocked out. They're gonna look sick. It is gonna run us a couple $100, and I was originally thinking that maybe we'd just kind of prep those panels as best we could and try to spray can them black. But I feel like no matter how good of a job you do on that stuff, it never really lasts. I've tried it before on certain things and eventually you scratch it. So a couple $100 out of the budget for interior panels that are gonna be in a cool color and last as long as we have the car. It's a worthy hit to the budget, right? Now, that, along with the radio, though, which is going to certainly be a much bigger hit to the budget, means we are going to have to make sacrifices at some point on this, and I think we're at that point. These early R35s, they have major problems with this. The vinyl on the outside of the dashboard will dry out, it'll split, and the whole thing will just get cracked up. In fact, I kind of feel like most Skylines from the R32 on up have had some form of dash problem. This one, though, is easily the worst R35, at least that I've seen in person. Now, obviously, I would love to just replace this dashboard with a newer one that doesn't have this type of issue. But that's a couple $1,000s. Plus, if I enjoy this car like I honestly think I will once it's done, I'd love to do some type of custom interior to it down the road. So at least for the time being, the full replacement's out of the question. And I don't think we really have much of a shot to fix these little, like, cracks in it, but I think I've cooked up, no pun intended, a way to fix these holes. What do you think? You go with the Nissan stuff or the aftermarket, the shrimp creamy tom yum?
I think OM is the best shot.
For a build like this, it's gotta be, right? Yeah. So y'all ever seen those videos where people fix things with ramen? Look, if that guy can fix a sink, we can fix a little hole in the dashboard, all right?
You got protein too, dude.
Oh.
4 grams of protein.
Wow.
3 grams of sugar, 270 calories. It's not bad.
I don't know what the right ratio is here. That is like a paste now, sort of, kind of. I mean, it's glue with ramen in it, if we're being technical, but it's a paste. That bitch is cooking. You see that?
Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
We have to do this again and be much quicker about it. All right. This is some serious glue. This is not Gorilla Glue.
25, 24, 23.
Don't put the pressure on me.
You're getting pro on this, huh?
Yeah, this is definitely a new niche that I never thought I'd be in. Here we are. This is cool, man. Anything that breaks in my house from now on, it ain't gonna cost me more than $2 to fix. Foundational issues? Here's some ramen. Oh, your deck's falling apart. Here's some ramen.
I don't think that's how it works.
Oh, it's gonna.
On point, huh?
So you're gonna laugh, but it kind of is, man. Like, that was a visible, like, millimeter plus deep hole. Oh my God.
I mean, that's pretty
It's
good.
way better than I thought it was gonna go. It fell apart. Not where it was supposed to fall apart, but it did fall apart. We had Tim bring in some of this leather vinyl recoloring, which we were gonna use to cover up the ramen. Oh, some of that glue is still moist. That's gonna be a problem. Yeah, this stuff is rock hard.
I never see you that focused on my life before.
Just so we're clear, this is just temporary until we get the correct stuff, okay? There's a light texture difference there, and I do mean light. It's not that bad. I mean, say what you will, but it's better than it was. You can't deny that, right? Like 95% of me really likes this. The other 5 feels pretty dirty about repairing a dashboard this way instead of just replacing it. Fernando, what do you say we go work on the engine? It won't involve any ramen.
Yeah.
Good idea?
Let's flip the page.
Yeah, let's shake the stench of ramen off us and go freshen up that engine. Now, while we did get really lucky that there's seemingly no major issues with this engine, there's still quite a few things we have to do to make sure it stays that way. Now, some of those things are of the reactive variety, and others are, I guess, more preventative. We're gonna try to get ahead of things for once. First thing on the agenda is probably the most basic service item of all time, spark plugs. We don't know how old these are, and well, they do look pretty good, right, Fernando?
Decent.
Not too bad. We might as well replace them while we're in here, right? Now, normally this would cost you a few bucks, maybe, you know, $20, $30, but since this is a Nissan, a real exotic, they are laser iridium spark plugs, which sounds expensive, and it is expensive. A set of 6 of these guys ran us $125, which is, well, it's a little more than ramen, right? Luckily, at least this time, we don't have to sweat it, because as of late, I've been saving a ton of money on gas, grocery stores, and eating out with the sponsor of today's video, Upside. I've been using Upside almost every time I fill up for a while now. You just open the app, pick an offer, pay like normal, and it throws actual cash back into your account. No points, no coupons, none of that nonsense. And man, on these long trips, it really starts to add up. They've got over 100,000 gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants in here, which probably explains why Upside users are earning over $1 million a week. Plus, you can still stack the rewards with your normal credit card points, so you can kind of, you know, double dip it, right? Most places I hit are giving about 8% cash back on groceries and dining and up to 25 cents a gallon on gas. And look, here's the deal Upside set up for you guys. Click the link down in the description to download the free Upside app and use code SCRAPPED. That's gonna get you an extra 25 cents a gallon back on your first tank of gas.
That sounds like a good deal.
It's because it is a good deal, Tim. All right, now we got all 6 of those holes filled. We'll get on with what, at least I think is one of the most critical parts of maintenance you can do on a car, especially one like this that you got from a salvage auction that's been sitting for who knows how long, especially one that had been running E85 at some point based on that sensor we found in the engine bay last time, and that is cleaning your injectors. When we broke this thing down last time, we found that it had a set of Injector Dynamics 1050X. It's a real nice set of injectors, but it's not going to do us any good if they're clogged up and not flowing right. E85, being that it's up to 85% alcohol, tends to be really corrosive and harsh on fuel parts, especially if you're not running the car often to keep things flowing. You know, like if your car sat at the salvage auction for 3 months. I'll probably do it. It's a virtual certainty that it's going to clog up your injectors in some way, shape, or form. And while it might not be bad enough to stop the car from running or to really cause a misfire, it might mean that this cylinder is getting 20% less fuel than this cylinder. And well, when that happens, bad things just tend to follow, right? It costs us $100, but it is pretty much the cheapest form of insurance out there. Sometimes these injectors can get so bad, it looks like there's like sugar or salt built up on top of them. It's just never a good situation. Now, the next thing we need to take care of are these dried plasticky, just ain't supposed to sound like that. Just hard, brittle valve cover gaskets that's been causing the oil to leak all down over our exhaust manifolds, which again, just like that whole injector thing, can turn into a serious problem real fast. Oh, I love that sound. I really do stand by the fact, though, that for as bad as this thing looks on the outside, for as just nasty and leaky as it is, it's beautiful inside. All right, now that is what a valve cover gasket is supposed to feel like. I know you guys can't feel it, but maybe the squishiness there will show it. Oh yeah, ain't no oil getting past that. All right, good on the Nissan gaskets. You ready for the bad news here?
Yeah.
You see these guys, these 3 little holes, and that's where the spark plugs go, and they need rubber seals on the valve covers so they seal to the actual spark plug tubes. When they fail, typically you'll get a little oil down in your spark plug well there, maybe it'll be on your coil pack. If you see that one there, it's actually pushed out a little bit. I don't know if that happened when we were removing the valve cover. They had these little tabs on there that's supposed to prevent that from happening, so I'm not quite sure how it would, but it seems to have. Now, the problem with replacing these, unlike the valve cover gaskets here, which cost us about 20 bucks a side, is that Nissan doesn't sell these. Turns out somebody along the way figured out that you can use a Subaru WRX crankshaft seal in place of them. These things are like $6 each, and the only downside is you're putting a Subaru part in a GTR. You know, before this, if you'd have told me I was using 6 Subaru crank seals for one job, I'd have thought my life went very wrong somewhere. Turns out it's just standard procedure working on GTRs, apparently. All right, we got parts, a lot of parts. We got them in one place, and we got them for pretty cheap, too. Didn't really think this one through. And the cart's rolling. I think you'll agree that went pretty smooth, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we got with the guys at Workhorse Performance last night and rated what I guess we can call their been sitting around for a while stash. We picked ourselves up a set of used downpipes, a set of really nice, higher quality used downpipes to replace the ones that are failing on that car. We also picked ourselves up a brand new flex fuel kit, and probably most importantly to this whole deal, come on, there we go, a fixed bell housing. This is gonna make it so the car is just a little less of a rattly bucket. Remember how the old one's kind of slopping up and down a little bit? There is no play in this one. It's about as tight as it gets. Now, one other thing that I didn't necessarily plan on doing is a set of aftermarket rear control arms. We've got 2 bent control arms in the back there. Turns out they had a full aftermarket rear traction arm set that had been sitting on the shelves so long, we were able to get it for basically the same price of the 2 OEM arms that we needed to replace. All in, we paid $1,600 for everything, and that's a pretty awesome deal when you consider this bell housing upgrade is supposed to be $1,200 alone. Now, the only part of this we actually need at the present moment while we're working on the engine is our ethanol kit. Somebody had modified the factory fuel line, which is supposed to be not serviceable. You can see how it was cut there and kind of just jammed in, and I mean, to their credit, it's not coming apart. So that's something, but it just seems like a fire hazard if I'm being honest. This is the way you typically do these things. You add an aftermarket block to the back of the fuel rail in place of that little pulsation dampener. This connects to this nice crimped together PTFE line that definitely won't burn the car down. And then ultimately, once we get everything back in the car, we'll connect it to our content sensor right there, or what I suppose will be about right there. All right, we got our gasket lined up. We can slap our intake manifold back on now. It's actually gonna look like an engine again after this.
What's the torque specs on those?
We used the torque wrench on the valve cover. That's quite enough.
Now,
This is, nah, it's by hand, okay? We'll use a little finesse. We're just gonna not know precisely how much finesse we've used because we're gonna do it by hand. Now, unless I'm missing something here, I think the last thing we need to do to the engine is just seal up this front diff. Well, we're in there. We're straight. Now, that should about do it as far as the engine goes, and the best part is we're able to fix it up for about $320, not counting the ethanol content sensor that was part of that whole Workhorse haul. Now, the engine, it's pretty much ready to go back in the car as it sits, if we wanted to, we could slap it in there. Of course, we're gonna wait till after paint to do that. And even though the engine side of things went pretty smoothly, we still have a ton of stuff to take care of on the rear half of the car, which, ironically, on these is actually the more difficult part. Numero uno, our exhaust. And this is one of the areas we got really lucky on this car. It's a full titanium 4-inch Tomei exhaust. It looks good, it sounds good, and it'll flow more than enough to support our power goals, being that it's full 4-inch, but it does have one little crack right there. You can see the soot that was running down from it, and it had actually cracked a couple places further forward on the mid-pipe too, though those ones were previously repaired. But we got ourselves some titanium filler rod here, and Tim's already hot on the well. We're doing some work on the NSX next door, so we can fix this right here, right now for basically nothing. Well, if you've ever wondered how light a full titanium exhaust is, very. The answer is very. You feeling confident?
Yeah, actually, I am.
Didn't you just tell me something about deleting footage if you blow a hole in it, or
That
was somebody else?
That's behind the scenes footage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Before we slap our repaired exhaust back on, there's one more thing under here that we should probably address. I'm not gonna say it's a necessity, but I think it's well worth cutting into our budget to make sure this problem-prone transmission lives at least a somewhat long, happy, healthy life. Why do I feel like this pan's way fuller than I thought it was? Ooh. Ooh. Probably should have drained that thing for a second time, given that it's been a week since we drained it for the first time, but to be fair, we also were kind of looking for a reason to clean up all this drywall dust off the floor, so, you know, we're gonna spin it like we meant to do it, right? Now, one thing that's kind of piqued my curiosity here is that I don't want any more drywall dust, okay? This is fine. We're cleaning drywall dust, just so in case.
Oh, okay.
This is a 2009. It's literally the worst year of a GTR, and they have a problem with the shift forks. There was a service bulletin way back when, and they got these little clips that went over the shift fork that protected them. Now, I'm sure it's been done on this one at this point, but, you know, wouldn't hurt to check while we have it apart. More importantly, though, and if I'm being honest, this is the real reason we're pulling this thing apart, is to me, it looks like this transmission's been open before. Like, look at that RTV squeezing out of that joint right there and right there. I can't imagine that's factory Nissan, so I'm thinking if we pull this valve body down, maybe we'll see some aftermarket parts in there too. So you can actually tell this has definitely been off before, right?
Yeah.
You see this clip? It's like raggedy in there. Definitely not as nice as it should be. Actually, a pin's broken, and I didn't break it for once. So somebody's been messing with it.
Which is good news.
Yeah, actually, in this case, it is. Usually, you don't want people to be messing with your stuff. In this case, that is indeed a good thing. Said there's one more wire. I did a little reading. I don't see another wire. Looks like we got them all from the jump. All right, that looks clean. First things first, it definitely got that update for the clips. So right in between here, you see that center portion? They've put this little metal retainer clip over it. Real simple and easy fix. You can see these shift forks up here are aluminum, and from my understanding at least, what was happening is they were just wearing out on that harder material in the valve body, so they put those little clips over top of them to, I suppose, just give the aluminum forks a little something softer to grab onto. Now, I don't necessarily see anything aftermarket off the rip. I don't know how noticeable it'd even be. If it had an aftermarket gear set, you could probably see some type of writing, some name on one of the gears. That's not the case, but everything's just overall super clean and nice. There's no chipped teeth, there's no abnormal wear, nothing. Now, it very well could have some type of modification that we just can't see here outside of, you know, a full replacement gear set. It could have a set of aftermarket clutches that would be up here in the front of the transmission, and we wouldn't necessarily be able to see it. So suppose we can't really be greedy in this situation. A good, functioning, clean transmission's, you know, about all you can ask for, right? Now, check this out. Somebody has already done this filter that we're about to do. You can see clear as day a socket mark around it and a little chip out of it as well. So we didn't do that, just for the record.
They probably drop it.
Now we break the rest, right?
Careful.
Got it. Careful's my middle name. All right. We splurged a little bit on a nice upgraded filter for this. It's going to be hilarious if it's already in here. Because it's serviceable, you don't need to replace it. It's a factory filter. And actually, like, that looks a little dark, a little... That is the sparkliest thing I've seen in this transmission. Look at that.
Wow.
I mean, it's a filter, right? That's what it's here for. It's
supposed
meant
to be white?
filter. Definitely not white, but also not gold. So, all right, that goes in the trash. Let's check this out.
Ooh.
I mean, there's definitely some shimmer to it.
Yeah.
It got caught up in the filter housing. That's exactly where it's supposed to be, right? We could be concerned about this, but we're not going to be. It works. It looks good. Let's stick our new filter in it, slap it back together. Check it out. I'm not going to pretend that I know that this thing filters any differently than a stock one, but it looks awesome. Radium generally makes really nice stuff. It's stainless steel mesh. I mean, it kind of has to, right? Oh yeah, we were filtering before, but now we're going to be filtering in green. All right, let's throw this valve body back in. We got to make sure our pistons are locked in place, and for that, we've made ourselves a little tool out of welding rod. See, right there in the middle of those pistons, there's like a relief. Okay, I'm gonna spin with a hole in it, and we need to get this welding rod to go through both of them. There we are. If it goes in smooth, I guess we got it. Oh yeah. That's smooth, about as smooth as you could ever expect, right? Probably should have got a tool for these bolts first. Fernando, can I ask you for a bit of assistance here? Maybe a T30 Torx. 11 of Newton's meters. A little double check, make sure nothing rotated. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. Oh yeah, Gucci. All right, let's slap this thing back together, connect all these wires, put our pan on, and move on to the next thing that's all jacked up under here. Now, in case you're wondering why we slapped that old gasket back up in there, we ain't just being cheap. It's not for budgetary reasons. These gaskets are metal, so you can use them a couple times, 2-3 times, before they actually need to be replaced. It just so happens to work out in our favor, in this case, because we don't have to spend $100 on a new one this time. Unless, of course, it's already been used 2 or 3 times and at least, in which case we'll have to drop this thing back down, put a new gasket in it, and spend ourselves $100, and probably also drain the new fluid we put in it, so could backfire in our faces, but not yet. Well, the first thing we got to deal with under here are these bent control arms. Now, the car was never wrecked. I suspect that this damage was just caused by the loader at the salvage auction. When they move these things around the salvage auction, they do it with these giant loaders, and the forks just happen to sit right about here. Ironically, the same place our damage is. Like 99% of the cars that have been through the salvage auction end up with this exact damage on the front and rear control arms. So, fun little hack, if you go under your car and you see the control arms gouged up, might be because it's been through the salvage auction. Now, funny enough, these links here are actually pinched a little bit from the factory, but if you take a step back and look at this one, you can see it has a nice little arch to it, and it's definitely not supposed to look like that. There's our first arm, and that one looks kind of straight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Other than that pinch, which again, they do that from the factory, the other one definitely had an arch to it. I don't know. Oh, really? Check that out. They made it so this one control arm is real difficult to get off. It slides on that bushing right there. The bolt goes in there, but you can't slide it off because it starts bashing into the chassis right there. There might be some way you can kind of like pry that out of there, but especially getting the other one on, I definitely don't want to mess up. It'll be easier if you drop the subframe down a little bit. I should do it. The transmission just right out. Oh, it did do it. That easy. All right, well, I guess that's the key there. Numero 3. There. We have these old arms, raggedy looking junk. Now, are we gonna need this amount of adjustability in these arms? I can almost guarantee the answer to that is no. Yeah, it'll help us dial in the alignment if we go to do any kind of hardcore track stuff. That's not the plan for this car, at least not right now. So the real upgrade we're gonna see off the rip is the fact that we're getting rid of these rubber type bushings for true spherical bearings. So it should stiffen up the rear end, it should eliminate wheel hop, and that's benefit we'll actually be able to feel on the street. Let's take these two for example. If you look inside there, in between the control arm itself and the portion where the bolt goes through, you can see it's all rubber. There's not not a lot of it. It's not some big sloppy, you know, Nissan Altima type bushing, but on this one, it's all solid metal. It's metal on metal with a little bit of grease in between, and exactly as you'd imagine, there is zero slop. Now, the downside of this is you do get a little more noise inside the car, NVH, I believe they call it, but hey, race car, right? I know this one's not supposed to be a race car, but race car. Now, what we're gonna do is just set them at the exact same length as the stock ones for now. If we have to adjust them later during alignment, sure, but for now, this will work. Got the other side off. Clearly, oh yeah, that's bent, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we weren't just seeing things. I do think there's a decent shot that this one is actually straight, but hey, whatever.
Well, why you just don't replace one? You didn't have to get the entire kit.
Very true, very true. But I thought I had to buy two, in all fairness. And from the dealer, it was something like $300. We ended up getting these as part of the package for like $200. So it's cheaper than buying two new ones from the factory. Was it cheaper than buying one? You know, probably not. But hey, we gave ourselves a little bit of an upgrade at the same time. So I'm gonna chalk it up as a win, even if it's not the, you know, most fiscally responsible thing. Caleb Hammer would roast me into an oblivion. Not for this car, but for every other car, right? He would have a field day. I gotta say, I am pretty happy with the way these things went on. They seem like they're nice quality parts, and it's nice to have just something nice and new on a higher mile car like this. And I'm glad we got it out of the way now, because while the next part we're putting on is nice, it definitely ain't new. Now, one of the cool things Nissan did on these cars is gave us two-piece brake rotors on the front and the rear, which means there's a nice light aluminum hat and then a replaceable steel rotor ring on the outside. Not only are there performance benefits to that, reduced weight and whatnot, but it usually means that you can replace the rotors in a more economic fashion, right? If you just have to get the ring and not the hat, it should be cheaper. Problem is, Nissan don't sell just the ring. If you replace these rotors from Nissan, you have to get an entire new rotor, which kind of defeats the purpose of two-piece brake rotors, right? Now, if we were to buy these straight from the factory, we'd be looking at about $1,000 per side, and that definitely ain't in the budget. So the next option was to buy a set of aftermarket two-piece rotors for $1,000, $1,200. But while we were looking for said two-piece rotors, we ran across something on Z1 Motorsports website called the garage sales section and found ourselves a very lightly used set of two-piece rotors for $400. And sure, they show some heat marks, but they feel awesome, especially when you compare them to the rotors that were on the car, which are far and away some of the most groove rotors I've ever felt. They have like a millimeter lip on them. I have to imagine they're the factory rotors on the car with 70-some thousand miles on it. And maybe the funniest part, for as bad as those rotors look, the pads are actually kind of nice. They have a ton of meat on them. They really don't feel grooved up at all. Does it feel weird putting used brake rotors on the car? Yeah, I mean, kind of, right? Can't say it's something I've done before unless it was like a brake swap off another type of car. But in this case, I kind of think it's the perfect scenario. We saved ourselves a ton of money, got a product that's way better than what was on the rear, and for that matter, also better than what's currently on the front of the car. I know it's used brake rotors, but at the very least, it'll let us get this thing dialed in on the street, maybe have a few fun track days, then once we wear them out, we'll put new ones on. And with that, we are officially ready to send this thing up to paint. Now, it feels like we've got a lot done this episode, but also the car somehow looks worse than when we started, so I don't really know how to feel about that. Either way, we've only spent about $2,500. Those interior panels, they're not quite back from Cerakote yet, so we don't know exactly what they're gonna run us. I figure we'll just add that to the list when it's done. Budget aside though, the very next time y'all see this car, it's gonna be a sick new color. Hey, you should tell them? Yes. Hey, why not, right? It's adjustable. Why do I keep saying adjustable? Something like that in the package. So, you have how many car loans? Your income is what? What I get for buying an aftermarket gasket to save $10? There we go.